job. Places to go in the city.
But I play hockey.
Having a good time with each other.
Welcome to Climate Channel, Climate Conversation with Quamrul Chowdhury, episode 58. Today, it is my pleasure to say that United Nations Environment Program is now celebrating its 50th anniversary, founding anniversary. And also at the same time, we are having the celebration of 50 years of Stockholm Conference on Environment, held in 1972. So after 50 years, how much progress we could make across the globe on environment front, especially after having a new institution called United Nations Environment Program based in Nairobi, not in New York, not in any European cities, but in African continent. For the empowerment of environmental
You are froze, Quamrul.
Stockholm, Sweden, June 12, 1972. Mrs. Indira Gandhi, Prime Minister of India, arrived today to address the first United Nations Conference on the Human Environment. She was met by the Secretary General of the conference, Mr. Maurice Strong, who escorted Mrs. Gandhi to the rostrum.
It is clear that the environmental crisis which is confronting the world will profoundly alter the future destiny of our planet.
The very fact that the conference began with 113 participating countries with very high-level delegations from those countries, this in itself represented a very significant step forward, because this demonstrated more than anything else the real concern of the majority of countries in the world.
Son and Shaikat Rushdee, two distinguished fellows who have been promoting environmental cause for many months, many years. We have seen lots of ups and downs across the globe, especially after 1972 landmark Stockholm Conference, and also creation of United Nations Environment Program based in Nairobi. Yes, there have been some tethering effect, especially since it is based in Nairobi, in an African continent. Many things couldn't happen because of that sluggishness, that UN bureaucracy we have experienced in either in New York or in Geneva or in other cities of global north. So how best we can assess the progress made so far by UNEP? We have seen a lot of executive secretaries like Achim Steiner, or say Klaus Tropfer, who have been championing the environmental cause for many years. But under new leadership, the 50th anniversary Golden Jubilee is being celebrated amid COVID pandemic, though it was supposed to be held this February after a rescheduling in the schedule, but again, it has to be moved further down. We are not. Apart from that, the celebration because of pandemic, like that, we are not having that mammoth oil, majestic oil. However, things will move on. And without much ado, I would now like to ask Tina Alderson to initiate the discussion. How 50 years you assess the progress made so far under UNEP, and how much we have achieved.
Thank you.
Since
if I could introduce myself, I actually I'm a functional skills English teacher, and I went to COP26 with some students to look at the engineering and to see the progress that has been made. The students thoroughly enjoyed seeing all the scientific new knowledge that was being formed. They enjoyed listening to the people's conversation, and we came back to Kendal College, where I work in the Lake District in the north of England, and we looked at the changes that we need to make in order to listen to the learner's voice, as well as everything that's going on in industry and the political influence. So for myself, I'm really excited about the steps that we can take moving forward with our learners, so we can help them understand how the climate is impacting on their future. Thank you.
Thank you. Shaikat Rushdee, you have been with the British High Commission and also other missions, and now based in Toronto, working for the government over there. So what is your assessment? How you would evaluate? What is your reflection? How far environmental degradation could be halted in last 50 years?
Thank you, Quamrul. First, let me introduce. This is Shaikat Rushdee. I'm a career journalist and broadcaster. I have been working since 1978 in Bangladesh, Britain, and Canada. And I moved to Canada. I have been a member of the Forum of Environmental Journalists Bangladesh, a founding member. And I moved to Canada 18 years ago, and I have been working for the last 15 years with a media intelligence company named Seashan. It is a media monitoring and analysis company. So we look forward with all the media coverages for various clients, including the federal government of the Canada and the provincial governments, which also encompasses the energy policies, climate change policies. So I closely monitor all the developments. So according to your suggestion, Quamrul, what we look forward there, that in 1972 in June, when the first Stockholm conference started, it was a very, we expected something more, what we have achieved. There are some successes definitely, but what I understand from the 26 principles, core principles defined in that conference with three categories, main categories of the action plan. The most important part was the establishment of the United Nations Environment Program. But the challenges are enormous. and it has evolved over the 50 years in various ways, which was unimaginable in many contexts. Like particularly the climate change was never been understood that time, but now when we understood it is too late, but still we're working hard on that. And with this Paris Agreement and the COP follow-up conferences and IPCC working together, we believe that if there's more international cooperation with the governments and the people and the stakeholders, we can move forward further. And we know one more thing, that the changes, the political changes in various countries with the governments from, like in Canada, liberal government to conservative government, again in a liberal government. So they changes the policy. Sometimes in USA, everyone knows, from the Obama administration to President Trump's administration. So they have moved away from Paris conference. And again, they have come back with the Biden administration. So these are also the insight. Those are the challenges that people cannot oversee, but the growing challenges of climate change is continuing. So if we want to address this in proper manner, as we have been planning from the last 50 years, we should work together with more international cooperation, and we need some certain common platforms to achieve that goal.
Thank you very much, both Shaikat and Tina, for your initial reflection. But as you know that UNEP has already been made quite popular, its flagship report, which we call Global Environmental Outlook, GEO. GEO1, GEO2, GEO3, GEO4, GEO5. Many of us, we are lead authors and we are consulted. Say the scientists, the environmentalists, the environmental educators, and also policymakers, governments of different countries are consulted, and these reports are published. This flagship report have changed the entire landscape of environmental change. Say from forestry to land degradation, from air pollution to pollutants, hazardous oils, and desertification to climate change, biodiversity losses, biodiversity degradation, sea plants, wildlife, everything covered under the purview of United Nations Environment Program. But the policies undertaken by different governments, pushed by United Nations Environment Program since 1972, are not fully and effectively implemented across the continents, across the countries, across the global village. Even the concept global village came up as a result of that Stockholm conference and Rio conference in 1992, after 20 years again. So that way, and after Rio conference of 1992, we had Rio plus 5, Rio plus 10, and Rio plus 20 already in 2012. And since then, again, 10 years passed by. What happened? We have sustainable development goals. But how far we could make progress, substantive progress? Could we be successful in reverting the environmental degradation, environmental pollution, water pollution, air pollution, land pollution, ocean pollution? We couldn't make a halt. We couldn't revert that trend. trend. Our mangrove forests, our forestry, our ecosystems, our flora and fauna, every day, every hour is being depleted. So how to avert this trend? Scientists, biologists, chemical experts, everybody is warning us. Code red as IPCC at its Year 6 report, Working Group 1 report, already flagged it. But we are not giving a heed. Our political masters, our politicians, our head of the states and governments are trying to shift the burden to the next generation, say next cycle of politicians. They are not in a mood to implement it right earnestly, right now, right away. They try to shift it down the lane, 5 years afterwards, 10 years afterwards, 20 years down the lane. Not now, right now. So how to catch that? How to catch the moving train? How to avert this propensity, this tendency, the consumption pattern, production pattern, our lifestyle has to change. We have to change it. But is that change can happen now, after 50 years of establishment of UNEP, after 50 years of golden jubilee of Stockholm Conference? Tina.
So having spoken,
Yes.
Having spoken to my learners back at Kendal College following attending COP26, we discussed this and what their message to us as educators was that they need it to be in a simplified language that everybody can understand. At the moment, there's a lot of jargon going around and the message isn't clear as to how the individual student, learner, member of the public can jump on board and understand how to reduce their carbon footprint. So it would be amazing if there was some research done, or maybe there is at the moment, I'm unsure, if we could take, for example, labels, as we do with food, whereas it tells us how many calories there are in a slice of bread so we can make an informed decision. If it told us about the carbon from production to purchase, and then what our impact is on buying a product moving forward, so we know, so we can make an informed decision about how we use that product and how we dispose of that product. And yeah, I think that would be a simplified message. At the moment, we're actually getting calculators out and trying to work out the carbon footprint on our water, our gas, all our utilities. Yeah, definitely a simplified message, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Shaikat, what is your take?
Yes, definitely. I agree with you and Tina that the mass awareness with simple messages to the people can educate people as well as create some pressure on the political leadership, because the implementation of these goals, sustainable goals for addressing the climate change, is required to be done effectively with the political leadership and the governments, but they are unwilling in many cases in many countries. Some of the governments are really very sincere and they're doing very good job, but most of the industrialized nations, particularly I can say in North America, the governments are not as much, they say, they are working in the same pace. They are giving more on the, if you say lip service, that will be very simplified, but still they are trying to appease their political bases. So they are not taking the measures, those are required to be done, such as, I can give you a couple of examples in Canada. When the Conservative Party came into power in 2006, they were actually promoting two big pipeline projects. One was a Keystone XL pipeline from Alberta, the tar sand, one of the, to be told that it is one of the most polluter tar sands oil extraction from Alberta to in the middle of the USA. And it was actually approved by the government of Canada, federal government, but later on, the President Obama government has cancelled it. So that was a $7.8 billion project has been shelved. The other project within Canada from Alberta to the west coast of British Columbia for shipment through ships, oil tankers from British Columbia to China and Japan, that was the Northern Gateway Pipeline. That was proceeding quickly. And the most important part was that the regulatory body was the National Energy Board. Their mandate was changed by the government as if they can pass and approve the project very quickly without adequate consultation, as mentioned, with the Aboriginals, the First Nations. If you use their land, you have to consult with them. But it was not done properly. So that according to the 1876 Indian Act, you have to consult according to the government law. But they bypassed that, and the Aboriginals took the government to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said that it is not adequately consulted. So you have to start again. In the meantime, when 2015, the government changed and the Liberal Party came to power with the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau leadership, they cancelled the project in different way. They have not changed much, but they said all oil tankers in British Columbia West Coast will be prohibited. That's all. The project died. But this government is still also appease other projects like asbestos mining. Everyone knows that asbestos is toxic. It is one of the causes for cancer. But in Quebec, which has the most, French language nationalists are more promoting for an independent Quebec country, they have a say. So the government doesn't want to bother them. So still the asbestos mining is going on. So this kind of appeasement with stakeholders and the political basis, like always the Conservative government wants to satisfy the Alberta and the prairies, those who produce the tar sands, and the Quebec for asbestos production. So this kind of things compromise the sustainable goals. So these are the things we need to make people aware, and we can see the newer generations are more aware than the older, like our generations. And because of the Green Party of Canada is getting more seats in Parliament now, and also those parties are propagating the climate change policies and the environmental policies, those are getting more awareness and popularity among the younger generations. So what Tina said, I believe that is the most important part, educating younger generations for the future of the planet, not only them, also us.
I think, Shaikat, you are alluring us to the spectrum of climate education, environmental education, awareness raising. Say in North America, how you see the changes are happening, the effect of, say, adverse impacts of environmental degradation, the cost of environmental degradation, cost of environmental changes, climate changes. It's a huge.
Definitely.
So if it is happening, it is finishing every day, I think all political parties, all political masters should give a heed to his constituency, his say electoral college, because it needs a lot of policy changes and also taking actions onto the ground in terms of climate change, in terms of environmental degradation, pollution. So how do you see that is happening? For example, say Fridays for Future, or say climate strikes, or say even younger generation, students are now taking to the streets, making demonstrations, raising awareness. They are having climate weeks. They are having environmental protests, protesting air pollution, how to curb it, how to ban the car. So, what is your reflection?
Yes, there is. And particularly in 2013, there's a big floods in Alberta, that prairies where the tar sands are produced. So there is a change in their mind when they are got that shock education. That means they experience the shock from the floods. Normally, it is never flooded in Alberta before. And we have seen that the snowfall was regular, but now it is rare. We had an experience of snowfall in Toronto last week, big snowfall, 60 centimeter in 24 hours, but it was a very regular event before, but we are not experiencing the same. Some people are happy, but some people are not. So these are the shock educations that are coming up. And I have seen the younger generations are changing their lifestyle, which is actually accommodating the changes in the climate change, the policies, like they are not using vehicles like Canada and in Canada and USA, most of the people own a vehicle, but in USA, most of the people many of the people use 2 or 3 vehicles for a family. But here we can see that younger generations that use more on the bicycle. They are reluctant to buy a vehicle. They use the transport or the regular commute buses they use. So, and they are actually making less carbon footprint in their personal lifestyle. So these are the educations will enforce, and naturally in the retail market, we have seen the solar power and more sustainable things are coming up as a product. So these are the things that are coming up. Definitely, these are also helping or creating a pressure on the political leadership, and that the changes should be made by the political leadership, but that should be coming from the basis, and I'm really hopeful about that, but a little slower than expectation that I can see.
Yes, you are absolutely right. The phase is very slow, and they are not giving a heed to the call of the scientists, to the call of the environment wizards. And also climate finance, environmental economics, or economics of climate change, political economy of environment are quite different. How, Tina, you would look at that? What is the ground reality of UK, Europe, or transatlantic?
So my personal opinion here would be that it's amazing that we're addressing education with students from 5 years up to whenever they finish their apprenticeship in college or the university degrees. But we need to also look at the different generations that have gone before that to educate those to make informed decisions. So I think that's a real challenge moving forward. Yeah. How do we do this?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Shaikat, you have seen that while you are in BBC or when you are in British High Commission or other missions, or even as a founding member of FEJB, you have had a lot of reports on the state of environment and also climate change. So what is your optimism about the future of environmental change, and also how best we can stop or avoid climate change? How far we are investing in natural resource generation to make a halt to natural resource depletion and all the changes causing climate change.
Definitely, very good suggestion. One thing you may remember that in 2002, I attended a United Nations Environment Program organized children's conference in Vancouver, in Victoria, in British Columbia, in Canada, when I came here from representing Forum of Environmental Journalists, Bangladesh. So that was a great gathering in Victoria, where thousands of children attended that program. And it was not only educating, it was also, motivating people. And so when they went back to their homes from different countries, even the students, the children came from all 5 continents. And it was a great organization. But I don't see much of that kind of programs. But that could be an annual or biennial program to make more younger generation, get together and have their say, what they are thinking, what they are feeling. Initially, it could be a nationally organized children's conference, and FEJB can contribute that. This kind of organizations stakeholders can contribute that, as well as there could be an international conference, because it is for the next generations and generations to come. And these children are the most important, the part of the whole procedure. And one more thing I can tell you, that there are some countries, like even Bangladesh, there are some rules and procedures the government ensures to protect environment and to protect from the degradation of any climate change effects. But the people, most of the people, are not aware. So, the hills are being all, deforested, and many of the forests are deforested. So local committees, like, many of the newspaper has their own units in all upajilas. So if the local environment committees can be, formed with the help of the local students and children, like FEJB can contribute with the local various kind of organizations in every upajila, like 490 or 91 upajila in Bangladesh. This kind of organizations that could be very helpful to make people aware. Like in our family, my daughter is a biology undergraduate completed, and now she's going for masters. She alert us, particularly my wife and us, to where to put our waste, in which bin. Like we have 3 different kind of bins, the blue and other bins. So you have to put this one in compost and this one there. So these are the changes we need to bring our own personal level behavior, and then it will bring a community change in community behavior, and according to that, a national behavior. And because of that, also we need some funding, and the government must allocate increased amount of funding for helping this kind of movement. I say movement because it is not only actions with the committees, they are organizing seminars and symposiums, but there should be a rally, there should be sit-in, there should be weekly programs for the advancement of these sustainable goals, how to protect our environment from further degradation. And most of the time people focus on fossil fuel, like in Canada, the most focus is on fossil fuel, use of fossil fuel, and the emission of carbon gases like greenhouse gases. But also from the industries and fossil fuel there's a deforestation, is a major impact on that. And all the deforestation in Canada or in Brazil or in Indonesia, these are having more impact, I believe, for the global warming and the climate change.
Thank you very much, Shaikat and Tina, for joining the 58th episode of Climate Conversation with Quamrul Chowdhury from Climate Change. Yes, you are absolutely right that after the creation of United Nations Environment Program in 1972, landmark Stockholm Conference, many countries adopted Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, Pollution Act, Environmental Act, rules, regulations, But we have to go many more miles. This is the first step or first couple of steps that we could make after the creation of last 50 United Nations Environment Program. This is a 1972 journey landmark. We have to Stockholm Conference. Many countries adopted Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, Pollution Act, Environmental Act, rules, regulations. But we have to go many more miles. This is the first step or first couple of steps we could make in last 50 years. But this is a 1,000-mile journey we have to embark on. And for that, we need lot of research, lot of empirical studies, and lot of innovations so that we can also educate our younger generation. It should be in the curricula. It should be in our education system. It should be in our policies. It should be in our national budget. It should be in our national planning processes, and also right earnest implementation of all these policies and plans, master plans, to help combat desertification, land degradation, and also run away climate change, and stop air pollution, water pollution, and land pollution, ocean pollution. We have to clean our environment. We have to go green. We have to pursue green economic policies. We have to make green investments, clean investments. We have to shift from fossil fuel to renewable energies, renewable sources, and nature-based solutions. With that, hopefully, UNEP can celebrate its 50th anniversary in a COVID-free world. With that optimism, I would like to stop here and end 58th episode of Climate Conversation with Quamrul Chowdhury. Thank you very much.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.